I thought to start us all out, you could remind everyone why it is that open banking is so important to the FCA, and then remind everyone again of the roadmap and the vision you're working towards.
Thank you, Akila. And Helen, thank you for the introduction and for having us here today to talk about open banking, which is one of my favourite topics. So open banking is really important to the FCA because it has the potential to transform how people manage their finance and how they make payments. It has the potential to make a real difference in the payments world. And I hope that in the future, my children use open banking, and there have been all sorts of innovative products designed which completely change the environment. As Helen was saying, open banking has been a UK success story, and ensuring it continues to develop in the interest of consumers while promoting innovation and competition remains a priority for us. Obviously, as the FCA consumer protection has to feature in there as well, but the potential for open banking is huge, and we really want to be able to develop it and to harness all the future potential so that the ecosystem can develop and that we can continue to be a UK success story. So turning to the roadmap, I'm sure you will have all read it. Back in April last year, JROC set out its roadmap for delivering the vision for the next phase of open banking. And that's got the key concept in it. Open banking needs to be safe, sustainable, and scalable, with an ecosystem that fosters trust and meets the needs of consumers and businesses. Now, each bit of that vision is hugely important, and we have, I think, 29 different work streams to deliver the next phase over a 2-year period. Now, we're almost a year in, and we have worked very hard on the various different work streams, and it is an ambitious but exciting challenge to get through the roadmap. It's not the regulators alone who are doing this. And I think one of the things I really want to stress is that we are really grateful for the support we've had from the ecosystem, and that we are working together. And the fact that you've all turned up to this event, I think, is really key to that. And the engagement that we've had and the working groups that we stood up last year has allowed us to progress work streams and to develop them. So the key message that I wanted to give for this bit is thank you, and please continue to work with us.
Great, thank you. And could you give us some insight about what is happening with a future entity and tell the audience?
Thank you. Yes, so for those of you who were members of the Future Entity Working Group, this is one of the working groups that I was saying was stood up last year and did a huge amount of work to consider how the future entity, the future central body that will be at the heart of the ecosystem should be developed. We set out in JROC a high-level vision for the future entity, that it has to be economically sustainable, equitably funded, and efficiently governed. And the Future Entity Working Group, there are around 30 industry participants from across the ecosystem who joined. And we had some really enjoyable meetings discussing some really difficult topics. We had 3 different subgroups covering capabilities, governance, and funding, and some really rich debate. So the Future Entity Working Group produced a document which is goes through a lot of considerations and makes recommendations to JROC, which JROC gratefully received last year. We are in the process of working through the next steps. Obviously, in the December publication, the update to the JROC workstreams that was published around the 18th of December, we set out the progress we've made on all the workstreams, but in particular for this question, the future entity. And we've committed to publishing a next paper in Q1 this year, setting out the next steps. But there was a lot of work done, and we are considering how the future entity should be designed, and how it can then take forward the work that will be key to the heart of the ecosystem in the future.
Great. And now could we talk about what I understand is another very hot topic for the industry? And could you please give us an update on the work and progress that's happening around VRP?
So I anticipate that this is one of the topics that Kate can give a whole hour presentation and discussion on, and I'm sure we will come to discuss it further in the panel session. So let me give a quick overview of VRP. So variable recurring payments. This is one of the other topics where there was a working group set up, and that was chaired by the PSR, by Kate. And there was an industry-led working group to develop a blueprint to establish the phased rollout of non-sweeping VRP. Now, VRP is an example of how open banking can develop for the future, how we can allow consumers, enable consumers and businesses to make a wider range of payments more convenient and more efficient. And the steps discussed by the VRP working group is a means of getting towards that answer. But there's still a lot of work to do over the course of this year. And there were a lot of recommendations to support further scaling by way of enhancement in functional capabilities, dispute processes, and various other items that we've taken on board, and we're setting out, as we said in the December papers, implementation groups to take this work forward so that we can really develop the right solution for the industry. The JROC is targeting a phased rollout of non-sweeping VRPs by the third quarter of this year, which will be upon us in no time at all, the way that the year is going so far. And we will aim to deliver a full rule set to enable a rollout of non-sweeping VRPs in 2025 after the pilot starts in phase 3 this year, quarter 3 this year. Once we've got VRP up and running, this isn't going to be the end of the journey though, and I just want to stress that it's simply the beginning of the journey. So we see VRP as a pilot to broader development of premium API propositions, and that will facilitate, incentivise ongoing innovation for the benefit of businesses and consumers. And this is really important to us so that we get this right now, so that we can have more innovation. I keep coming back to that word innovation. We're looking for new products within open banking to really take it forward and to make it economically sustainable and scalable, and so that the ecosystem continues to grow and continues to deliver benefits for consumers across the UK.
Yeah, I'm sure the rest of the panel and Kate in particular will have a lot more to add to VRP, but could we also talk about the other themes that were set out by JROC and the other work streams? Could you give us a brief sort of update on all of those, or some of those?
Of course. I'm not going to go into the detail of all 29 different activities, but broadly there are 6 work streams, and we've touched on the VRP work stream and we've touched on the future entity already. So the other 4 are levelling up availability and performance, mitigating the risks of financial crime, developing proposals for dispute processes, and improving information flows to TPPs and end users. Now, a lot of the work on these work streams have been OBL-led, and they have all progressed. So under the first 2 work streams, JROC has welcomed OBL's submission of 2 data collection frameworks on API performance and financial crime. The submissions of data under this will really support our policy thinking, and we will use the data that comes to consider how, if any potential changes are needed in the future. So that data will be hugely important. OBL has also worked on a gap analysis of dispute processes in open banking under workstream 3, and a gap analysis of payment statuses and error messages in faster payments and open banking. We're considering the next steps to address the findings of these, and JROC will provide an update in due course.
Great. And before we move on to our panel session with everyone, could you please give us your one key message or takeaway for attendees today? So
I think the key message is one that I've already said. We need to develop open banking as an ecosystem. We need to all work together to get to the next stages, and to fully develop the potential of open banking. So my ask is for firms to continue to support the JROC workstreams and the ones that OBL are driving forward as well, so that we can progress the JROC roadmap. So please respond to data requests, consultations, participate in working groups, and come and give us your thoughts. It's really helpful to have industry input at the right time while we are doing the policy work for this, so that we can get it right, and so that we can work together and that we can make open banking the best possible thing it can be. As Helen said, the constellation out there, we can make it shine.